Hello guys, Syntax AI here and welcome to this live stream. This is my name is Ben. Welcome to this is my vlog channel. We are live. This is the first episode of Creators Interview where I'll be interviewing YouTube episode. I'm going to be interviewing Brenda Kline about mental health awareness. This episode is only going to be a short, like half an hour episode or 40 minutes because our guest is busy later today, so we have limited time available. So if you're new around here, please do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss you don't miss anything. But without further ado, I'm just gonna invite our guests to the live stream. So I'm just gonna send the link over to our guest or my guest now. And see if this works. If not, I'll invite people. Yep, there we go. So yeah. This should be it, yeah. I've sent over the link, so hopefully our guest will join us very shortly. And any of you in the chat, if you just pop into the live stream and you have any questions for our guest, then please do not hesitate to put them in the live chat. That'll be great. I do have some questions prepared already for a guest, but in case you guys have any questions, I'll give you this half an hour to essentially we'll have half an hour to ask questions and answer questions. And so I hope you guys enjoy this first episode of Creators Interview, but our guest should be in here any minute. So yep, we have 3 people watching. So if you guys are here, or say hi in the chat. Brenda should be here in a minute. I've just sent over the link to the live stream. Hello, Drone Effects with Claude. Yeah, I've just sent over the link to her, so she should be here any minute. Sent over the link to her, so she should be here any minute. Hi, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. I see Drone Effects is hello. Claude, how are you?
Can you just begin by tell everyone
Is it
about?
working okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just couldn't see my. Can they see me?
I think so.
Okay. Can you see me, Claude? I just want to make sure. Oh, and you probably saw me in here too, because you saw 3 people watching. Because I have it up so I can see the chat. So, me. Okay, good. Thank you, Claude. What did you ask me? I'm sorry. I missed it.
I was just gonna say, can you tell everyone about yourself and your experience with regards to mental health?
Yeah. I'm Brenda Kline, and I've worked in the mental health field for probably 24 years, I'd say. From everything between like one-on-one care, so that would mean like just one person doing therapy, or with children. I've done treatment for children in their homes and in the school, stuff like that. And then I've been in middle management, where I've supervised and directed psychiatrists and director of quality assurance in a mental health center. I've done worked with the elderly and adults with mental health issues. Yes, Claude, I believe you do need help. Well, Claude, if you became a Patreon of mine, a $25 a month Patreon gets you a 10-minute Skype call. But for you, I would give you a half an hour Skype call to work on your issues. But I've always tried to implement things throughout my life. Just because somebody has a mental health issue doesn't mean that they shouldn't be treated like anyone else. Like, you don't know. I could have a mental health issue. Your neighbor could have a mental health issue. Just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean that you're crazy and you're going to hurt people. And it could be somebody that just has an anxiety disorder, depression, or somebody that is schizophrenic. I think the biggest problem with mental health in society today is that people don't want to get involved. They just want to ignore it or not tell anyone. Well, if you know that somebody is struggling and they are not getting help on their own, you need to reach out to them and try to offer some help, or just at least offer to give them information about where they can go for help. Maybe they don't know where to go. Or just ask them how they are. Sometimes that helps.
What challenges did you face when working with mental health?
Some of the challenges were with the government, because when you work in this type of places, like you say, you work in a mental health center, so that would be just anyone coming in to try to get therapy, one-on-one therapy, or even group therapy, or maybe somebody that needed to be in a group home. We've had those. I've worked in, run those group homes. And the biggest problem is that there's not a lot of funding to help people with that. So if people don't have, say you have a schizophrenic or psychosis disorder, maybe they don't have the funding to come stay in that group home. And in the United States, the biggest problem is that you can't stay in a group home forever. So they will keep you there for a little bit, give you treatment, and then you have to go up and live on your own again. Well, there are programs where people will come to your home and help you with things like daily living tasks. But the other problem is that some people that are struggling a lot can't stay home by themselves. it's not a lot of people, but there are people that can't function on their own. And if their diagnosis is just mental health and not something extra like have an intellectual disability, or they're over 60 years old, so we would consider them older adults, they won't get the funding to be able to stay anywhere. And then they'll end up back in the hospital, and then back in the group home, back out in the community, back in the hospital. So it's a big revolving door for them. The biggest challenge is that we need to work on how funding is available for people with mental health diagnoses.
Okay. How did you get involved in mental health? What motivated you to get into it?
The biggest thing was I came from a family that was extremely abusive. So I wanted to learn how to help people like that so that it didn't continue on, like, so that parents aren't abusing. So the first thing I did was worked in children and youth. So ours is Child Protective Services. So our Child Protective Services, it was to help those. I went to college for child development and family counseling. So my first job was home care, where I was working with people with disabilities, helping them function in daily life. But then after that, I worked with children and youth to help people learn how to raise their children and not be abusive towards them. So that's kind of what motivated me.
How can someone help others?
Look, Claude is trying to give you tips. That's good, Claude. Because remember, this is his first time, your first interview, right?
Yep.
So as they go, I'm your test dummy, right? So as you go through it, you will learn more and more tips, and you'll hone your craft.
How can someone help someone who has others who have a mental illness?
So like it's just the average person that knows nothing about mental illness, like that type of person. Yep. And it's more just just ask them how they are. Like if you notice something maybe is a little off, or maybe they're depressed, just asking somebody, how are you doing today? Hey, if it's your neighbor, hey, want to go for a walk, or anything like that. That could just be enough for somebody maybe that's depressed, just to know that there's somebody out there that really cares or looks out for them. Or if maybe family members of theirs, and you say, hey, I noticed maybe they're a little bit extra sad, or something like that. Just giving them that extra hand up. Or if services in your area, or services that can help them, just giving them a list. Maybe they don't know this stuff, the places that they can go. And then obviously that there are the big red flag type of people that that they're talking about harming someone or harming someone else. In America, we have like, oh my goodness, the dog. Sorry about that. The little Chihuahua just tried to bite the dog again with the no teeth. But the red flag ones obviously are somebody that's trying to harm themselves or harm others. You want to alert the police. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get them mad at me or something. But you need to, because if they're going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else, you have to tell. You have to. You're not doing anybody any good being quiet. Look at all the things that happen on the news. Look at what's happening. If you're not telling anyone, people are getting hurt. You have to tell someone. You have to tell. Like in America, like I said, we have crisis lines that you can call them and say, hey, and they'll come out and evaluate the person. And if it is somebody that is truly dangerous and they get enough calls, they will take the police with them. I actually used to work for Adult Protective Services, and we had to do that a lot. We'd have to go out and actually talk to that person and see if they needed, we call it involuntary hospitalization. So meaning they can't make that decision themselves. Like they can't make the decision to go to the hospital themselves or get help themselves. That we would have to get a court order from a judge to remove them. That doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And it's not just mental health that happens for. It helps for medical issues. Like if the person, and obviously if somebody is laying in bed and not moving and they're causing themselves medical issues by not leaving and not taking care of medical issues they have to have something mentally wrong. Because, you know, an average person is going to take care of those things. You don't want to see yourself get sick. You don't want to be in pain. But if somebody has severe mental health issues, they aren't going to care about that stuff. So you would get a court order to get somebody to the hospital.
Are drugs or therapy better for treating mental illness?
Oh, what did you? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Are drugs or therapy better for treating mental illness?
Well, that's a good question. It depends. Everybody's different. That's the other thing, is that maybe, say, we're both on the same type of medication for depression. It may not work for you, but it could work for me. Maybe I need a different type of medication. Or maybe I don't need any medication at all. Maybe I just need therapy. That's why it's always important, if you feel like that you need somebody to talk to, like you need, you're depressed, like clinically depressed. You need somebody to evaluate you. You have to go to see a mental health professional or a psychiatrist so that they can evaluate you and decide, let's try this course of action. Let's try therapy first. If the therapy's not, and that's usually a good psychiatrist or good mental health professional will say, let's try therapy first. Unless you have auditory hallucinations, or meaning, you know, like you're seeing things that aren't there or hearing things that aren't there. In somebody that has schizophrenia, they don't know that that's not real. They think it's real. And nothing you say, you cannot say to somebody with schizophrenia that has delusions, auditory or visual delusions, you cannot say it's not there, because it is. It is there for them. How you help that person is helping them. And I'm not saying like you as an average person, you're going to say this to a schizophrenic, but if you ever did happen, you met somebody that had auditory or visual hallucinations, you would just help them learn to deal with it. Like when I've worked with schizophrenics, the one person that I worked with, he had auditory ones where he would hear somebody telling him to do bad things, or telling him not to go to work, or telling him to do this stuff. And I would tell him, you need to talk to those people, whoever it was. I think maybe it was his parents, that they had passed away. But I said, you need to tell them, no, you're trying to do better in your life, and that you are not going to listen to that. You are going to. It's basically diversion. Like you're diverting their thoughts to something else. Sometimes them just listening to music with earbuds while they're working helps, because it drowns out that noise. Or just you talking to them drowns out that noise. It's helping them divert that attention to something positive. I forgot what they meant, this actual question was. What the question? Oh, therapy or drugs. But a schizophrenic it's that level has to have medication. It's just to suppress some of that. Those thoughts, like the visions or the auditory thing, the things that they hear are never going to go away. They're always going to be there. But it does suppress it some, medication. And they have to go to therapy to learn how to do that on their own, to get those skills to do that on their own. And they may need help with that forever. Like the guy that I worked with one-on-one, he also had an intellectual disability. So it was extremely hard for him to understand. You had to be very simple with directions on how to teach him not to hear that stuff, or teach him how to divert that attention. So he would need, and he worked part-time. So he needed a job coach for the rest of his life. He would have to have one. But that's what those services are there for. But that guy ended up, he lived with a family that helped him with those things. So he wasn't on his own. He did not live in on his own, which is great. And in America, they have those, their families that people can, with intellectual disabilities as well as mental health issues, live with, so that they can stay in the community and not like live in a hospital or a group home. In America, the people with intellectual disability can live in a group home forever. But if you just have mental illness, you cannot. That's what I mean about the funding. It's really weird how they do that. If it's just mental illness, no. But if you have an intellectual disability with a mental illness or just an intellectual disability, yes. There's a lot of red tape to have to weed through.
Could you tell us about your mental health blog, Brenda's Mental Health Tips?
Oh, yeah. Great. Yes, of course I will. My mental health tips, I started that. It's Brenda's Mental Health Tips.com. You know, it's just a blog that I started whenever I had to stop working because of my medical conditions. So I wanted to be able to still help people. And it was before I started like doing YouTube all the time. So I wanted to have an outlet somewhere to help people still, or some people could reach out to or read or, you know, whatever. But I started that, and then I started the Facebook one, but it's just blogs. Like I will post today. I just posted something on how to learn how to say no kindly. You know, like you can't be a doormat. You can't be somebody that someone takes advantage of you. And again, there's a lot of people like that don't have enough self-esteem to say no. That's something you have to learn over time, is how to say no without you'll overdo it. You'll overwhelm yourself. You're not going to be able to say yes to everyone. And it's okay. You have to take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't help other people, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be good to anyone else or yourself. Like you have to have, but my mental health blog has not just those type of tips, but it also has tips on how to spot somebody with psychosis, or how to help somebody with schizophrenia, or just tips on how to travel when you have anxiety. Just not real extensive. I think whenever I first started doing it, a lot of people thought it was, you know, like real serious stuff all the time. And it wasn't for everybody. It was just people with serious mental health issues, or like therapists. And I said, no, it's just basic tips for anyone that could use it. Like, even if it's not for you to use, maybe you know somebody that would benefit from those tips, or you know a therapist that would like to use some of these for their clients, or just a family member or anyone like that, you know. But I really like to do it just because it does help some people. And then it started that Facebook, like I had to create its own Facebook account to be able to share it so that more people would see it. And I actually reach more people that way through it, since it posts directly to it. And then the people on Facebook that see that Facebook, I always want to say channel. It's not channel. Facebook page. I always want to say channel because, you know, you're so used to doing YouTube and you want to say channel all the time. But it's not channel. It's Facebook page. So that Facebook page. But that Facebook page is just Brenda Kline. Not anything real. I should have probably named it Brenda's Mental Health Tips, huh? So that it would go right with it.
Great. So what is mental health for those that don't know?
Wait a minute. What does Claude say? Okay, then no, Brenda, I don't want your $1 million. I have my own. What? You don't want my $1 million? Like, I have $1 million? I do not have one. I wish. Be awesome. Right? Oh, what was the, say that question again?
For those that don't know, what is mental health?
Mental health. Do you have an Instagram? Yes, I do have an Instagram. Now you're gonna make me try to find it.
I think I put it in the description of the live
Oh,
stream.
is it down there?
Should be, yeah.
It is down there. My Instagram is yes, it is down there. Let's check out Brenda Kline. My Twitter's down there. My mental health blog. My YouTube channel. My Instagram. No, it's all down there. It's all down there. Claude already follows me on there. He's just being a good chat person. Audience. That's what I wanted to say. What is mental health? Mental health can be anything from you have an anxiety disorder, so and that's different extremes. You could just have an anxiety disorder where maybe you just get anxious about going out on your own to the store, or maybe you have anxiety about stress at work, that kind of stuff. But you can also have anxiety about everything, leaving the house at all. I have met some agoraphobic people that I would have to help them leave the house. They could not, because they just everything caused them anxiety. They worried about, and usually anxiety will go along with OCD, like obsessive compulsive disorder. So that could be something that, like I kind of am somebody who has a little OCD about clean, making sure things are clean, no germ. It used to be really bad, and it was because I had a lot of stress then. So you kind of divert your attention from the stress to this OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. So you may clean because that's something you're able to control. Maybe you can't control the things that you have at work. So when you come home, you can control that environment. You can control the cleanliness of things like that. Or it could be, like I said, the schizophrenic, somebody that has delusions, someone that has issues with understanding the difference between reality and fantasy. And, there are different types of mental illness. Some of them you're born with. Like, you were born with schizophrenia. You were born with that chemical imbalance. That was something that you maybe inherited through the blood, your genes. And then there are some that are created. So like post-traumatic stress disorder. Somebody that experienced a lot of trauma would have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, so that you get a lot of anxiety when you come into contact with something. And it's not just veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of people misunderstand that and think that it's just for people that have been in combat situations, war. And it is not. It is also people that have been through, it could be fire. Say you had a house fire, I had a house fire. You coped with it fine, but I did not. Now I'm afraid everything's going to catch on fire, so I have to unplug all the appliances like that. That could be again, it's not, everybody isn't affected the same way. Not everybody's going to develop a mental illness because you were in a traumatic situation. It just happens to some of us. Oh, sorry. She must hear some of the neighbors out there, and she's barking at them. She's a pain when it comes to that. Let me see if this... Lily! Okay, go ahead.
How should we address the increase in serious mental health illness?
Hello, Amjad. Welcome. Okay, thanks, Claude. I can't hear you. I can still see you, but can you hear me, Claude? Okay. That's fine. Hopefully, works this time. Sorry about that. It was fine a minute ago. It just cut off the audio from Brenda, so I don't know why that's happened, but hopefully you can sort this out. Oh, hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
That's weird. I was like, I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
I was
It's
saying
fine. It happens.
Yeah, how could we address the increase in serious mental health illnesses?
Oh, how can we like help with it? You mean, or is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yeah. That like the telling people and recognizing, learning is the biggest thing. Is like people are like, I don't know. I've had people say that to me. I don't know what somebody that has a true mental health illness looks like. Or I said it's anything. I would tell them it's anything that's a red flag. Like if somebody's saying, I'm building things in my basement, or I'm I want to hurt somebody or hurt myself or something like that. If they're saying those things, you need to tell someone. Like you can't just be quiet about it. And then I think that it starts when people are kids too. You know, like parents need to be more, pay attention. Like not just if your kid's being bullied, but if your kid is the bully. That's what drives me nuts. Like my daughter would have got her butt beat if she was a kid that was bullying other kids. That's where you end up with somebody that will, like a kid that will end up with depression or suicidal tendencies or anger, a lot of anger issues because they're being bullied. Am I excusing the fact? No, I don't. It's not an excuse. It is an explanation of why maybe that they are becoming this way. And, the kids that are doing the bullying is why we need to stop that. There needs to be more hands-on about that. Teach, it starts with these parents. It starts with the parents not teaching their kids to be empathetic to others or be kind to others. But the people that have the true mental illness, when I say true, I mean the serious mental illness, like the schizophrenics, the psychosis, the stuff like that. You have to keep an eye on those people because sometimes, another thing that ends up happening a lot with mental illness is that somebody will go for therapy and go for treatment and take their medication and they'll say, oh, I feel better. I don't need to take this medication anymore. I don't need to go to therapy anymore. No. The reason you're feeling better is because you're in therapy, is because you're taking your medication. You have to continue doing it. Somebody with a serious mental illness is just like somebody with diabetes. If you've got you're an insulin diabetic, you're not going to say, oh, I feel better, I'm going to stop taking my insulin. You're going to die. You can't do that. It's the same thing. It's a serious issue that people need to take care of. It's your health. Just like your physical health, your mental health can control your physical health. So if you're not controlling your mental health, you will end up with some medical problems. Hi, Amjad. Sorry, I just saw it. Because before he couldn't hear me.
If you could give one tip to those who suffer with mental health conditions, what would it be?
Do not suffer in silence. There's so many services out there. And especially nowadays, you know, like in the 70s and 80s, people didn't talk about this stuff. People suffered in silence. And there weren't many services out there. Now there are more services, not even just in your community, like out in the community, but online. You can, if you don't want to go physically see somebody, you can go and get a therapist online, just like this, to talk to a therapist. There's lots of apps and online, like BetterHelp. There's one, that's what it's called, betterhelp.com, I believe. You can get a therapist that way. But there's also in the community. It's don't suffer in silence. There's so many people out there that you can reach out to. Or read a blog. That can just be enough to help yourself to feel better. Help yourself to learn how to, I don't like to use the word deal with this. It's just trying to change your mindset to a positive way. Trying to learn how to deal with those, not deal with it, but like kind of cope with those challenges through everyday life. You know, you can have a successful life just because you have a mental illness. I don't like to see people that maybe have a mental illness that will say, well, I have this or that, so I can't do this, or I can't. No, that's not true. Just because you have a mental illness does not stop you from doing anything else in the world. There are plenty of services. There are plenty of people that will help you to realize those goals. You know, I used to work in, it was a program where you would help people with different type of disabilities. Not just mental illness disabilities, but physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities. All of those get jobs because they wanted to work. So there are a lot of services out there that can help those people work in the community, whatever they wanted to do, or go to school, that can help assist them through school. So yeah, I'm just gonna go on. I don't even know where I was going off in another direction. Just saying, you know, nowadays there's a lot of services out there to help you with this stuff. Like there's no excuse. Like sometimes I can be a little bit direct and harsh about it because there isn't. There are so many places. You cannot sit in your house and just feel sorry for yourself. What is that doing? What is sitting in your house and feeling sorry for yourself doing? Nothing. You are not living. I mean, you know, this is cliche, but you're not living your best life, right? Like, stop it. Like, that's what I want to say. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Reach out. There are so many people that will help. So yeah, it was just one thing and it turned into a million things, right? One thing is just don't suffer in silence.
Okay, could you just quickly tell us about your channel?
Oh.
Like what inspired you to make your channel? And
it was because I had to quit working in the community. I was the director of Adult Protective Services, and for the side of Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania, United States. On this side of the state, so Western Pennsylvania, it's the whole western side. I think we had 26 counties or something like that. But I just ended up getting sick all the time because of my medical conditions. So I had to quit working, and I wanted to find a creative way to keep doing positive things and just doing things to make people smile and be happy. And I started out with just doing uploads of my dogs, just random dog vlogs. And then people on one of my live streams, they were like, why don't you put yourself more in your videos? And I was like, really? You want to see me? So I started doing that and just, you know, made it a vlog channel. Because I was never going to be able to do like a niche channel, you know, those cooking channels or that's great that people that love those and are able to do that, but I wouldn't have been able to do that. I'm just interested in too many things, and I just want to have fun and like do fun things. And so I just try to do the vlogs on stuff that I'm interested in and that I think are fun, like the paranormal stuff I like to do. What else? Outdoors things, like trail walking, the dolphin watching that I did. That was the first time I was ever on the ocean in a boat. I still do, videos about the dogs. They're not that often, but challenges. I'll do a challenge every now and then. So it's, it's a vlog channel. Right? I do those positive live streams with Philly Drone Life on Tuesdays and Fridays. We try to help people think more positively and just be motivational.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in following Brenda at all, or check out a mental health blog if you haven't already, the links are down in the description.
Yes. If you're interested in the mental health blog, please go check that out. And if you're interested in my channel, come check me out. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's just scattered and weird. Right? Sometimes it's very, I got a lot of squirrel moments.
Okay. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, what'd you say?
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me. And I hope that you have an awesome night. I guess it is nighttime for you, right?
Yeah, it's
awesome
9 at night. So yeah.
9 at night. Nice.
9.
Yep. It's 4:12 for me, so I gotta get going and head out here. So we'll see you later, and thanks for having me.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining the live stream, and I'll see you soon. I'll have another creators interview soon. So bye, guys.